And my mother heard me scream, and she immediately ran toward me, put her hand over my mouth, and dragged me out of the store. And I think about that experience often because I know she probably did that to save my life. Because I probably would have reacted like any 5-year-old would have done, which is smack them, how dare you, but I really didn't have, and she understood that I didn't have that right at that time. So that experience has really shaped me, and it made me fight for anyone that people want to treat as if they're not human. And I became an educator because when I was going to school, I absolutely loved my teachers. I mean, I loved them. And that was during a time of civil rights. But they believed in educating us. So at that time, for me in Chicago, and that's probably a different era, but they really believed that we deserved an education, and I had a great experience. I mean, I thought they were so great, I didn't even think they used the bathroom. I thought they were angels. So I definitely wanted to become a teacher, and that's what actually I became. I have taught in the Columbus school system for over 20 years. I retired in 2001, and I began to realize that a lot of grandparents were having to raise their grandchildren. And in raising their grandchildren, they really could not navigate the educational system the same way. It's almost like they spoke a different language. So I would always go into these meetings with them. But at the same time, it was always a fight. It was always a fight to help them get what their children needed. And I could not understand, why is it always a fight? This is your job. You're being paid for it. Why can't you just do your job? So in that fight for them, I became frustrated, and I would go to board meetings, and they wouldn't listen, of course. They would look at me, they let you speak your 3 minutes, and then that was pretty much it. And then I just said, I'm going to run for school board. And I actually ran for the school board in 2003, and I ran as a write-in. And this is how your mind is with politics. I thought I was going to win. I was devastated when I looked at the TV and I hadn't won. But I didn't realize those group of people that are saying they love you and you're great, they're a small group of people. They're not everyone. So the next time I ran, which was in 2015, I actually made it to the primary, but then I lost. And then someone came to me and said, you need to run for state representative. Again, this is how much I know about politics. I'm not covering the whole state, but I only had to cover my district. And then I said, well, how many signatures do I have to have? Because I had to have 300 for school board. He said 50. Well, I'm like, oh, I can do that. So the day before our petitions had to go in, my husband and myself, we ran around with one young man, and we got our 80 signatures, and I made it on the ballot, ran against 3 other gentlemen, and I won. And I got into the state house, and I absolutely love what I'm doing. I love the opportunity to make the difference there. As a matter of fact, it's good to be able to bring your experiences to the state house. And one of the experiences that I brought to the state house was when I was advocating for children that were in an abuse and neglectful situation. I found out that police were not mandated reporters of child abuse and neglect in the state of Ohio. We're the only state where police are not mandated reporters of child abuse and neglect. So that's one of the bills I was able to bring to the state house. It got passed the House unanimously, so I'm very much praying for it to get to the Senate and be signed into law this year.
Great, thank you for being here. Let's take a time to talk about just the underpinning philosophies, not so much the issues, but the basic beliefs that you see present in your political party. So, gentlemen, Republicans, what are some general assumptions about the world, assumptions about human nature, core beliefs that sort of underpin the way Republicans see the world?
Typically speaking, Republicans believe in the right of the individual. They believe that people work best when they are able to seek out and benefit themselves, not necessarily in a selfish manner. Because in order for anyone to succeed, they must work with other people. And so the Republicans believe that individual freedom is the best way to advance a society. Individual freedom with business or with whom you interact is the best way to help our country and our communities along. And as a millennial Republican, I do tend to be a bit more centrist on many things. When it comes to Republicans, you typically think of the old crusty white guy who doesn't like gay people. That's not how it is. That's not at least the Republican Party I have come to know. It's exactly as I've said, people being able to seek out their own best interests and benefit themselves and their family from it. And how else would you put it?
I'd say pretty much are very similar, and Mr. Spear was talking about in the introduction, is that Republicans come in all different shapes and sizes. As I said, the crusty old white guy who hates gay people, certainly that exists. There exist people within the party that are like that, and a lot of that is with the much older kind of, grew up in the 50s, 60s, before civil rights, who lots of times are extremely religious, and that's kind of their backing for it. Again, most of them not, horrible people. If you just talk to them, you wouldn't expect them to be, as they are. But just more so than that, economics. Republicans believe in capitalism, as I say. Are there any Parks and Recreation fans? The TV show.
When you see the mustache, what do you think of?
Speaking of Ron Swanson, one of my favorite quotes from that show is, "Do you have apples? Yes, I have apples, and I have some. That should be as hard as it should be to open a business in this country." Just kind of, as he was saying, the freedom of choice, the freedom of people to look out for their best interests is extremely important to us, and that kind of drives most of our theology when, we talk about issues such as drugs, homosexuality, economics, taxes, trade, and kind of all the other issues that we'll be seeing.
I think I had one addendum to what I said earlier. It boils down to essentially, we don't care what you do, just don't hurt anybody. As long as you're not infringing directly on someone else's right to life, liberty, and property, I really don't care what you do with yourself. I want you personally to make good choices, but in the end, it's you who has to benefit or not from your own choices. It boils down to make your own choices. Just don't take those choices from someone else.
Representative Payne talked about Democrats.
Well, I think that's an interesting thing that you said, you believe in, and that's why I said I believe that we are similar. Just that statement that you made with regard to you believe in your own choices, and that's one of the big things at the House is that, there's a woman's choice, whether they want to terminate their pregnancy or not, and we have a young lady that's Republican, and she brought a bill, and she believes that it's called a heartbeat bill, and she believes that pregnancy should not be terminated, especially once you hear the heartbeat. But that heartbeat can be heard probably at 4 to 6 weeks. So our fight is simply that we want, but we want a woman to be able to have a choice. I myself had a choice. I had an abortion early on in my life, but having a son, seeing him grow, loving him absolutely to death, I'm able to have a perspective from their side in the sense that what if, but at the same time, I could not be a hypocrite because I made that choice in college that there were things that I wanted to do and I knew I was not ready to have a child at that time. So I believe that everyone should be allowed to make that choice. And so when you talk about choices, and the thing for me, I think with Democrats is that we understand biases. We understand that people in poverty may be treated differently. I was very shocked when I began advocating for families that they see as poor, they see as less than. It is amazing to me how they're treated. I've had a mother come to me, and her son was in trouble. He had been smoking outside the classroom, outside the school again, and they wanted to suspend him. And so she came in because, you want to have a parent-teacher meeting with them. And she started telling me that her son had been out at the lake with his brother, and his brother had slipped in, and the current started to take him away, and he grabbed his necklace, but his necklace broke, and he drowned. So she told me that he stayed in his room for almost a year, smoking, and then he finally comes out. But we have nothing in place to deal with this young man that has a habit that is real. I mean, it's real what he's going through. And all that we could do was, in our wisdom, I guess, was suspend him. But the other thing that shocked me that she told me was that you're the first person that's ever been nice to me. To hear somebody say that you're the first person in the school that's ever been nice to me tells me that we need to do a better job. And that's what I think about at the house. We need to do a better job of treating everyone the same. And that's why you have laws in place. That's why you have policies and procedures that are written so that those of us that have that tendency to have biases and prejudices, well, this is what you're supposed to do. This is how it's supposed to go. We do seem to understand that in business. We understand business, to me, they understand the customer is always right. Public service, not so much. Not so much public service. And if I can give you another example, a 7th grader in school, this is after I started advocating, he kicks the volleyball in in gym class. He actually hits the teacher, they all giggle, and for some reason, she sends him to the office, and after she sends him to the office, the police come, and they arrest him, and he's in the juvenile detention center for 3 days. And so when the mother came to me about the situation, and I'm thinking, that's absolutely insane. I said, you should go, and you should, question the other students, find out, what they did in investigating this and so forth. So she says to me, I went to the school, that she's going to the school. So I don't hear from her for 3 days, and I give her a phone call. And I said, so did you get that information with regard to, the statements made by the other children? She said, girl, I looked in that packet, they didn't have anything like that in there. And what I said, I thought to myself, if you went to McDonald's, and McDonald's, you ordered 2 hamburgers, and you got home and you only had 1, how many of you in here would definitely immediately call for to say, I want my other hamburger, I'm going back for my other hamburger, but for her, she didn't see that she had a right to go back and say, where is the information that I asked for? And I find that again and again in public service. They do not ask for what they are paying for. All of us are paying for public service. We're paying our taxpayers' dollars. And I wish that's what I want people to understand. Please demand from us, your elected officials, anyone, for us to do our job because you are paying us.
So would you say underpinning all that is the idea that Democrats have particular care for people who may be marginalized, diminished?
Yes, definitely disenfranchised, which is why we have the programs in place. Like no child left behind tutoring was in place. It's to bridge that gap in reading and math between white students and students of color. And the welfare program when it came in, just those types of programs we really believe in because we know the people oftentimes need a leg up. But at the same time, we want people to understand they have other rights also to get them to the next level.
You want to talk a little bit about some of the big issues Republicans care about, some of the maybe 4 or 5 big issues that are at the top of the Republican concern?
One of the biggest ones, one of the definitive ones, is the issue of small government. As Representative Kent just put out there, the difference between a business and a government. McDonald's has to work for your dollar. You can go to Burger King, you can go to Wendy's, you can go to a mom and pop shop. You want to drive way out west, you get In-N-Out Burger, which I hear is good, but I hear 5 Guys is better, I'm not sure. I've heard that too. I'd rather have 5 Guys. I love 5 Guys. But government, I'm not going to say, just make sure you don't get a large fry with the whole bag. But the government does not have to work for our dollars. I don't know how many of you have a job, but if you look at your check, taxes automatically come out. Now, McDonald's is not automatically deduct money on the supposition that you're going to be doing a Big Mac every Wednesday. The government will take your money regardless, and they will vote on how much to take. They don't have to earn your dollar. They take it regardless. At least business has the accountability of us getting involved on a personal level and deciding, you know what? McDonald's consistently only gives me 1 burger when I want 2. You can call up, you can talk to your friends, you can organize a boycott, you can go to Burger King or Wendy's or stop doing fast food altogether. Learning to cook is a very valuable skill. I went to culinary school, I can't help it. And that is the biggest issue with conservatism, with Republican ideals, is the issue of small government. Because the government, when it's too big, it does not get accountable. That's why local government is the most important step in government. Your city councilors will listen more likely to you than your congressman, than the president. Because there are 320 million people in the country. They can't listen to every single person quite as easily as your city councilor can, as even your state representative can. There's also the issue of taxation, which kind of runs hand in hand with small government. When you have a large government, it must tax you greater. We are $20 trillion in debt nationally. Our state is also going into debt, which many people say requires higher taxation, but that's honestly just going to create a feedback loop of more issues. When you have lower taxation, people can create jobs, people can start businesses, people can build the economy. In fact, after the tax bill was passed, I believe it was the end of 2016 in December, we've actually seen federal revenue, 2017, my mistake, 2017 in December, we've seen federal revenue actually go up. It's a minute amount of like 0.04%. But it shows that by lowering taxes, you incentivize people to create a better life for themselves. If you need to keep more of the money you work hard for, wouldn't you do it? The government's not standing there next to me in the kitchen helping me make the food and doing 40% of my work, but they take 40% of the work I do. There's also gun rights, which is something I'm a big advocate for. I'm a bit of an enthusiast. I go to Vance Outdoors down in Groveport on Allen Creek Drive. And that boils down to the issue of being able to protect yourself. Being able to protect yourself not only from people who would wish to kick in your door at 2 in the morning and take your stuff, but also, and this is something people don't like to talk about, the issue of a large government going tyrannical. Now, I do not say that it's going to happen here. I merely say that it is within the realm of possibilities. You can see it throughout history. The bigger a government is, the easier it is for it to decide what's best for the citizen. I'm not saying by any means that our government is our enemy. Our government is our employee. We must remember that those who are our community leaders are actually our community servants. They exist to do what's best for us as we see fit. We get to vote for them, we get to have their ear, and if they do something that we disagree with, we have the ability to organize against them and peaceably, through a democratic process, overthrow them. Although I'm not a big fan of using that word, it kind of connotates a negative, violent interaction, which I still support.
What,
What do you have? I don't want to take up all the
do you
time.
want to add any issues on the Democratic?
Just more so on kind of the social aspect. I think a large part that drives Republican ideology comes from U.S. history. Obviously, I'm not talking about like 1800s, like 1960s, but more so just the history of America being a place that broke off from a tyrannical government, and still to this day, we're cautious that when a organization is so big and so powerful that they can potential to, take away your rights, to take away your ability to do what you want to do, that it's a rational move to be able to fight back against that government. As much as we don't, as much as we can say, oh, like, it's Civil War, like, work out, like, the American military is so strong. I mean, we, in 1776, defeated the world's best trained army. Vietnam in 1960 beat the world's best army. And the farmers were guns, but the farmers were guns. And so along that thing of being well armed, it's just a step along the way, an extra step of protection, if you will, from tyranny. And again, not saying that a government is tyrannical or will become tyrannical, but it's one of those situations where it's better to be armed than not, ever have to use a firearm, than to need it than not.
Let's look at the healthcare system. The cost of the healthcare system. I, for one, introduced a bill for our healthcare to be completely free to us. And I introduced it because, it's one thing in order for people to say that, we want to be responsible for ourselves, but on the other hand, there are some people out there that cannot afford prescriptions that are $400, or they have children that are ill, and they have to go to a GoFundMe in order to make sure that their children, they can pay for the treatment. I was very shocked to have testimony after testimony after testimony of people struggling to pay for their medical treatment. Now, to me, who pushes the cost up are corporations. Because corporations are about making money. I mean, and I'm not mad at them. They're about making money. So that's up to us to make sure that they don't make the money off of our backs. That's what we have to do. Take, for example, the testing. That was a trick to me. Bringing in that testing where you have to test to make sure your school is up to par. You have to test to make sure you can graduate. I've never seen any bigger trick than that. But we fell for it because we didn't realize where it was going to lead. So now we have students out here because business wants to make money. And I always thought it was because business, the textbook companies, they realize, oh please, that's fine. But they realized, the textbook companies realized that they were going to become obsolete. So if I'm going to become obsolete, I have to find another way to make money. So how am I going to make money? I'm going to introduce these tests. And I'm going to make money off these tests. And I'm going to make you feel like these tests will determine whether your child is going to make it to the next level, whether you have a school that your child should go to. And so what happens is because of these tests, we have so many students out here without a diploma just because they didn't pass the test by maybe 2 points. They did everything they were supposed to do. They have all of their credits, but think about that. They take a test and that stops them from getting a diploma. Once you stop them from getting a diploma, you almost put them at a different level in life automatically. And they told me, I've talked to many of these students, and they tell me, when someone asks me whether I graduated from high school, I think in my mind immediately, do I say I did, or do I say I didn't? If I say that I didn't, people immediately look at me differently, and they think, what's wrong with you that you don't have a high school diploma? But there's nothing wrong with them. A test was created. Columbus school system just got an F. You know what that means to students that are going to a school system and they say that you are an F? You are a failure, because you're really painting a broad stroke. But there are young people in there that are doing everything they can to make it in life. And the educational system, I look at the colleges, I paid $300 a quarter for my schooling when I back in the day. The amount of debt that students have, you're paying it off forever. So you're putting people in debt forever. Again, it's back to corporations. If other countries can give free education all the way through college, if other countries can give great health care, why can't we? Right now in Finland, I absolutely love the idea of their education system. They're not even separating the classes anymore. They don't go math or English or what. They put everything together because they feel everything works with each subject. I love that idea. I cannot believe that we are still in these textbooks telling students to go to the end of the chapter, answer the questions, or don't look at my paper. Everything in life is about collaboration. That's why I love Mosaic, because you guys work in collaboration and projects. But you look at many of the schools that are in poor neighborhoods, and they're stuck with that same mindset. And so corporations tend to make money off of poor people.
So we've got, you mentioned universal health care, school testing, and college affordability. Any other big democratic issues you want to mention?
Well, of course, we have the gun rights. I myself, I don't have a problem with people owning guns. That's really not when the children in the urban and the poor communities, they're not really using assault rifles to kill each other. They're using guns, handguns, and so when people talk about assault rifles, I don't want any assault rifles, and but at the same time, I'm realistic. That's in the Constitution. People believe in it. They hunt. They have many reasons for why they have their guns. So I don't see that being an issue that I would spend my time fighting against, except for the fact of the assault rifles. I just don't think they're needed in this country. But again, you have countries without guns at all.
If I could, if we could open this up to a slight back and forth, I've been taking notes and I would like the opportunity. On the issue of guns, it's not the Philippines. You don't need to be able to say everything you want, but you have the right to. You have the right to offend anyone because you can say whatever you want, and I love that right. It's not the Philippines. That's one. Healthcare costs, the first thing you touched on. Healthcare costs can easily be boiled down to government intervention. In order to get any new drugs or any new medical procedures passed, a corporation trying to make money must spend millions of its own dollars, or perhaps even more, to develop a new procedure, a new, cheaper pacemaker, the next EpiPen, that was a big thing a couple of years ago. But after they've spent millions of dollars developing this new possible cure for cancer even, it now must go through the Federal Department of Drugs, the Federal FDA, I didn't tie it up here. The FDA for at least 10 years of millions of dollars of more testing and paperwork and all these other issues that come up. And those millions of dollars, they aren't just burning that in their parking lot. No, it's in the issue of making money. So they have to recoup those costs, otherwise they'll just stop innovating. If there's no incentive to make money, you don't innovate. How many people here plan to go to college? Why? To get a career, to make money. You're spending money to have a career to hopefully make more money in the future. It's a profit-loss scenario. It's the same thing for corporations. Corporations are seeking in their own best interest. And so they're trying to make money. The more government gets involved in something, the more expensive it gets because you lose the incentive to lower the price. The government is not mandating us all have hamburgers. Go back to McDonald's again. Not if they did, well, if everybody's supposed to have hamburgers, price would go up because you raise demand without raising supply. But because we have so many different businesses that offer fast food, there are dollar menus. You've got Wendy's for $4. I stopped at Wendy's for lunch on the way here. That's why I have fruit here. So the less government's involved in something, the cheaper it gets because you allow competition, which drives down cost because now they have to provide a better quality product for cheaper. Same with college. The more that they issue student loans, the more that student loans are guaranteed, the more money is guaranteed to schools, the less they have to worry about making money. You don't have to worry about where your money is coming from. You have no need to innovate. You have no need to grow something and make it even better. What we end up having is a school with 100 diversity officers or these different social justice programs, these different issues that in the end aren't towards the benefit of getting your college education. It's not towards the actual classes. It's not towards your actual degree. It's towards developing extracurricular programs or building new buildings or expanding on it as opposed to trying to help you best find what's best for you to expand your mind, expand your future, and grow on it. And on the Scandinavian country issue, there are, quite frankly, more black people in this room than there are in all the Scandinavian countries combined. A homogenous culture honestly creates a completely different issue. Scandinavian countries like Sweden or like Norway are able to do things differently than we can here in America. Because America, one, is 100 times bigger. Ohio has more people in it than Norway. We're able to do things differently here. We have to, because we have so many different cultures coming together, which is the beautiful thing of the United States. We're the only country in the history of the entire planet to have multiple different cultures, races, creeds, religions come together and work towards a common goal.
On the issue of healthcare, another thing that needs to be understood is that America does healthcare differently than any other country. Talking about people who can't get healthcare, the U.S. is the only country in the world where healthcare is tied to employment. And the reason that is because in the 1940s during World War II, they put a cap on wages so they couldn't pay people more. So they had to come up under other incentives, and one of those was healthcare, which is why a lot of companies in the U.S. now offer healthcare. On top of that, America has the best healthcare in the world. There's a reason that if you live in places like Buffalo, New York, you hear stories all the time of people in places like Toronto who will drive across the border into the U.S. to get health care because there was simply not enough space or room under the Canadian Universal Healthcare System to even get room. My next door neighbor in Cincinnati is from Canada, and he broke his arm in 8th grade, and his mom freaked out because the hospital bill for that was $1,500. And their dad started laughing at his mom and was like, yeah, but that's nothing compared to what we paid in taxes in Canada. Yes, it probably hurts a little more than to just get it automatically taken out of your paycheck. There's also the issue of how we do healthcare, and that is that we really do. We have the top machines in the world. We have the top surgeons in the world. We have the top medical training in the world. Places like when I lived in Switzerland, Great Britain, France, their surgical technologies, especially areas like dentistry, some of the smaller areas, they're 10, 12, 15 years behind in technological development than the United States. So yes, their healthcare is free, but it's also at a severe lesser quality. A Guatemalan surgeon whose name I can't remember came to the United States because he had developed a surgical technique to do the same exact thing that LASIK laser surgery does for the eyes. Surgical technique for $20. The FDA, as we were talking about, pretty much banned it and told him to stop what he was practicing because there's going to put other LASIK doctors out of surgery, which LASIK, I believe, nowadays costs about $4,800. $4,800 instead of $20. And because of the, scare of what that was going to do to the, people who were doing LASIK and the potential job loss, they told him he couldn't do it. Think of the millions of Americans that could have helped. Even cost $4,700 less.
So let me give Representative Kent a chance to respond, and then you want to move to some questions from students.
Oh, well, I simply, again, it's the corporations, it is, like I said, this 1%, with all of this money. And so, regardless, that we would do better if people could go to the doctor, people could go and actually do something about their health early on, and what people are doing are waiting because they cannot afford it. It's good if you can afford it, that's fine. But when you have to choose between life and death, that's ridiculous. And as you say, the greatest country in the world.
Doctors take a thing when they get into practice called the Hippocratic Oath. It does not matter if you are extremely poor, extremely rich. If you go to the doctor in a life or death situation, they will give you the help. Whether or not you can pay for it is second to the doctors.
Okay, but the majority of people, real quick, but the majority of people that have bankruptcy, they're not poor people. They're in bankruptcy, they're people that make the same kind of money that I make. And they are looking at bankruptcy because of their medical bills. You know, my husband had a condition, his pacemaker cost $125,000. Thankfully, he was a veteran, so he was able to get it paid for. But let's say he's not a veteran. Then I've got to pay a percentage of that, and a percentage of that is going to put me in debt.
It will. If I could, does anybody here have a driver's license? Who here love their experience with the DMV? The DMV is socialized. The DMV is government regulated. The DMV is what the future of medicine is if it's government controlled. The government control, again, goes back to supply and demand issue. Everything boils down to economics, essentially. Supply and demand. Why should these doctors spend 8 to 10 years of their lives going to college to come out and be overly regulated to the point where they're working 80, 90 hours a week, and they're not getting paid, not getting compensated for it? Why shouldn't a doctor make a lot of money? At the same time, when the government gets involved in it, and everybody can go to the doctor for anything that ails them, which you should be able to, but when the government is saying we're going to pay for writing a blank check to do whatever you want, what's going to stop you from doing it? You're going to go all the time. It's going to override the system, which again boils down to college and healthcare at the same time, because college costs can impede doctors from actually the doctorate, as well as healthcare costs impede the customers from actually seeking out good care. When you get the government out of both of those issues, and you allow the free market to fight, you will find that the costs go down as quality goes up, both for college education and for healthcare. By doing that, everyone can afford healthcare. By doing that, you allow the person who can do a $20 LASIK surgery to beat out the person doing $4,800. Because that person who's demanding almost $5,000 to fix your eyes, you're demanding that they prove their worth. Why should I pay you $5,000 when this guy can do the exact same procedure much cheaper? By doing that, we encourage costs to go down, we encourage innovation, and we allow the best to rise to the top, while at the same time allowing everyone a better healthcare and college system.
So let's get to some questions. I know we'll take a few questions now, and then we'll take a little break. Maybe in 10, 15 minutes, and we'll come back. So let's start with TC and Mary and Madison, and then come over to this side of the room after they have this.
Hi, I'm Cici. Okay, so thank you guys for coming today. I really appreciate it to hear all you guys' opinions. My first question was for you guys. It was mostly about the conversation you guys are having about healthcare was a lot about the rich and the poor, how the poor cannot afford it. Do you think healthcare has anything to do with race? Some minorities aren't able to not much afford healthcare, but they won't be treated the same when it comes to receiving healthcare.
I can't speak to the actual demographics of the bias of different doctors and hospitals and issues. I'm not looking into those statistics. At the same time, though, I do understand that there is a disproportionate amount of minorities, especially African American Black people in the inner city, who cannot afford the same things that those in the suburbs or rich white people, which rich people in general, can afford. And that, again, boils down to actually a 1940s bill on redlining, which encouraged banks to lend money to white people in the suburbs as opposed to minorities, African Americans, black people in the inner city, which did make it so that way it's almost a systemic problem of, well, you don't have a house. You don't have the nice cars because you weren't offered the opportunity to begin with. But at the same time, we are getting out of that. Those laws, I actually just got a real estate license a few months ago. Redlining is completely illegal, but it doesn't necessarily help those who are already in the situation. The only way that it's been proven to be able to get yourself into the middle class, the Brookings Institution did a study. It's actually a liberal leading institution. Did a study years ago that found that there are three things you have to do to almost guarantee yourself a spot in the coveted middle class. Graduate high school, hold down a job, don't have kids to get married. If you do those three things, you are statistically likely to be in the middle class, allowing it to be easier to pay for health care. Again, I cannot comment on the bias of different doctors. I'm not actually into that. I hope that answers your question.
Well, I'm glad he said that first thing, graduate from high school. And as I said, it was corporations that came in, put this test out here, and made money, and are still making money. I remember the GED. The GED used to be strictly about if you wanted to graduate from high school early because you wanted to start a career early and you wanted to get out early and work and so forth. Now, GED, it seems so many people are taking it. It costs $100, now it's gone up to $150. If you don't graduate from high school because of the test, they now have this tutoring. It costs you $100, $150. So to me, it's corporations making money off of us. They say these things, but then who they make the money off of is us.
Who runs the schools? The schools are not private entities. They are a government-run institution. You cannot look at a government-run institution and see the problems in it and blame a private corporation for it. We had testing because we wanted to have accountability for teachers, and that has only added to the problem as opposed to fix it. Testing is an accountability issue for teachers. My wife is a current kindergarten teacher.
How is that accountability?
I agree, but that was the problem. People wanted to be able to test their teachers and make sure the students they were putting out knew the subject that the teachers were teaching.
Okay, let me
and
say
by
this.
doing that, we had testing.
Why are you testing me? Why are you testing me when I've already completed college, already have a master's degree, I've already done student teaching? Why are you giving me, a teacher, a test? That makes absolutely no sense.
I'm not saying you're testing the teacher, testing the students.
Well,
It's
why are you
testing the
testing
product.
the student? If I
I'm a
do
chef.
all my classes,
I'm a chef. If you come through and I get you sick, do you not want someone in the food department to come through and test my food? The teachers are having the students tested. These standardized tests that you all take are something that was put forth by the government to test the teachers. You are the products that these teachers put out. By doing so, by testing you, they are testing the ability of these teachers to actually teach the programs that they are being paid to teach.
okay, let me say something to that.
So it's not the corporations.
How many of you people, I'm sorry, but how many of you actually believe that testing told you what you could do in life, what you could accomplish in life? Raise your hand if anyone thought that testing was good.
I agree with you.
So there's no way you have a society that information passes through it, at phenomenal rates. What would make anyone think that you could make a test to measure who I am unless you're just trying to make money off of me? And that's the bottom line. There was no reason to create this.
But the baby's already worried about her first test coming in.
Right? It'll get worse. It'll get
A
worse.
lot of stress.
I trust you enough.
I am.
Alright, so like I know that you started off with saying that you don't agree with like every single thing that is like typically like the Republican Party. But if you are pro-life, I'm just wondering like if you believe in like the government not really having control over like your life or like having less control, why do you think that the government should control women's bodies and their choices with them?
Abortion is a very polarizing subject for me because there are three essential keys that kind of drive my ideology behind it. First and foremost, I personally am against abortion And a large part of that is due to religious reasons. However, this is when it starts to get tricky because, again, I do like the Santa Claus. I do like to talk about giving freedom to people, and one of those freedoms is, who am I to tell a woman what she can do with her body? Alternatively, if a hospital doesn't want to offer abortions, or if a medical insurance company doesn't want to provide insurance for abortion, who am I to tell the CEO of the hospital company what services they can and can't provide? It goes both ways. And then alternatively, in terms of the baby, I am under the belief that life starts at conception. So who am I to tell the baby that's growing whether or not he or she would get to live? And then the last part of that is just simple science. Simple science will tell us that sentiency starts when the brain and the spinal cord fuses. So at that point, that is when the baby becomes feeling and what we define as quote-unquote human, which I believe is around the 8 to 12 week period.
Real quick.
Oh, by all means, sorry.
I've already given my opinion on that, so.
If I could, real quick,
Yeah.
because I am actually pro-life and legally pro-life. I advocate to make abortion illegal. I understand I'm in the wrong crowd and preaching the wrong church for that, but my belief is very simple. There are laws that basically control people's bodies. I can wave my arms around any way I want, but if I'm holding a knife, I can't wave it at him. Same basic concept here. It's what people can do. And to look at it, in order to find a belief in abortion, you must first define. We can't just look at abortion and say, all right, what do we think here? You have to define the words that go into it. And the word that most comes out is life. What truly is life? What makes a human life? To me, human life is something that is genetically the same as other humans. 23 chromosomes, all of that, the DNA. So for me, a life is something that is genetically identical to everybody else in this room, which is the exact same thing that happens at conception. No different than someone who is suffered a terrible motorcycle accident in a hospital. I can't unplug life support to charge my phone. He doesn't have any brain activity, which is the same argument for pro-choice, therefore he's not alive. I find that to be unsatisfying. We must define the words to a legal perspective before we can truly have a conversation on the issue.
I think that the problem, real quick, I think that the problem is, though, and I think that this is what Democrats have talked about, is that sure, you believe in pro-life, but then when the children come out and they are in poverty and they need help, where is the money then? You're not interested in them after that. Then there's nothing to be said. Then it becomes, you gotta pull yourself up by your bootstraps and do it for yourself. And so that's my problem.
I believe in your right to live, but I do not believe in your right to take my debit card and go buy stuff for you to live. I believe in your right to live, but I do not believe it's my right to support you. Granted, you do make more than me, you're welcome to buy something tomorrow.
Actually, you know what, the pro-life, pro-choice discussion is a rabbit hole that we could fall down and talk to you about in 20 minutes.
I would like to touch on the part about once they come out and not caring, because I think that ties in a large part to the educational debate. And again, going back to it, it's such an important thing in our country. And just real quickly, how many of you know what TED Talks are? How many of you know what Khan Academy is? So Sal Khan gave a TED Talk about how me and him have talked about industrial, innovation, how innovation drives success. How education truly has not been innovated in America since the 1700s. How it's still the same concept of you go to the classroom, just kind of like the same like you are now, with a teacher with a chalkboard pointing to 2 + 2 is 4, memorizing the multiplication tables, and taking the SAT and ACT. We are living in a time now of mass communication where someone from other parts of the world can communicate with you in under a second. And education needs to be something that going forward, both Republicans and Democrats take a look at to make sure that everyone is receiving the best education possible, which, clearly as of right now, it's not, because USA used to be the #1 source of education for both secondary education and post-secondary Finland, Sweden. And so a new evolution of how to do education, utilizing instant access to information is a job required of teachers. Most jobs in the 60s, 70s, 80s could be done with a high school diploma. The problem isn't that college is unaffordable. The problem is that we put so much emphasis on going to college. There's no reason you shouldn't be able to do most of the jobs out there off the college degree, maybe a 2 years trade or associate's degree. So that's kind of what my beliefs are.
So we're going to take Max and Sky, two more quick questions, then we're going to break and then we'll come back to the question.
Social issues, because that's what I'm interested in, like, do taxes and things, kind of like meaning out a little bit later. Gay people, because you talked about that a little earlier, and you touched a little bit on working with men and stuff like that. How, like, in terms of the institution of marriage, should I say, how would you know?
Actually, I want to take Madison's question and frame it with marriage. You're going to mention that earlier in the day, you said that Republicans just want people to live how they live, not hurt anybody, make good choices. We hope they make good choices. The women's rights argument is perhaps not the best choice to talk about that. But gay marriage, I mean, I know you talked about the old crusty people, but also the Republican Party wants to redefine
I want to
transgender.
learn out of marriage entirely. I don't want my guns or my marriage registered in Washington. I don't care what two consenting or even more adults. I'm okay with legalizing polygamy, in all honesty. I don't care. What is it, when you boil it down to the legal definition, what is marriage? Remove religion from it. Marriage is merely a contract between two people agreeing to share their benefits, to make name each other next of kin, essentially betting someone half your stuff, you'll love them forever, if you'll, part of the cynical joke. So from my perspective as a Republican, I disagree with the Obergefell decision on gay marriage because I don't believe the Supreme Court or the government should be involved in marriage at all.
And by the way, just to point out, going back to the coalition we were talking about, I see what Aaron's representing now is sort of the libertarian side of the Republican Party, which may differ from like the conservative Christian part of the party, which may be different.
The evangelical Christians are the opposite.
And I have a slightly different solution in which, sort of similar, and I really take it from a government perspective in that everybody, there should be no marriage licensing. If there is a license, it should be what it is now, which is what's called a civil union, and all people should only receive within that of the government a civil union. Straight people, homosexual couples, each have a couple. And, the civil union should give people the same rights as, marriage does nowadays. If your spouse has health insurance, you should, if you're in that civil union, also receive that same access to health insurance. Whether or not you want to call them marriage at the end of the day, that's your right. If you want to say they're in a civil union, you have that right. So again, going along with them, yes, I believe in marriage, but just the sheer fact of I don't think marriage should be a government issue. All couples should be given a civil union, and that should be what the government aspect is. And whether or not they want to call it marriage from there, that's their preference.
Well, I think that sounds good, and I'm really glad that you as young people that really think like that, but that's not how your party thinks.
I just
And matter of fact,
he supports gay people. He means he doesn't care. He doesn't think it's okay with gay marriage. He's supposed to be the head of the Republican Party.
well, I'm only talking about my experience at the State House, and Republicans had brought a bill that, and that was a pretty strong bill, and it had to do with the fact that some of the churches have halls where they do other things, like give parties, or they might do receptions in the hall.
This is one of those.
And this is one, okay, this would be considered one of them. And they don't want anyone that is gay to be able to use their hall. And that was a bill, and that was one they were pushing, and that did get through the committee. So it is a serious issue where they actually believe that they don't have to make a wedding cake if the person's gay. So it's kind of scary. And that these thoughts, they may say one thing, but we never know in the end how someone, because those crusty old white guys, they're still there.
I would say, one other thing, I think most of you know this, and you can respond to you guys, but Ohio is still a state where you can legally be fired from your job or denied housing if you're gay.
Which I disagree with, but I will say this. My support of the legalization of any marriage, of any people entering into a contract for which they decide as two consenting adults, does not go further than that. You do not have the right to show up at someone else's private property, which like business is, and demand they do something for you. They have the right to deny that service to you. At the same time, you have the right to boycott them and go somewhere else. You have the right to essentially make a national coalition of people who will not shop at that specific shop and make them go under. You have the anti-discrimination laws that force people to make cakes or whatever for people with whom they disagree or even hate. What that does is legalize their hatred. They can now hide behind the law and you make them rich. These people who hate you. Theoretically, I don't know. But, so I do not believe that churches should be forced to host any event with which they disagree. Or I don't believe anybody who owns private property, if I host an event for my friends at my house, I should not also have to host an event for you at my house, because I don't know you.
But why are you in my business? If I go in your shop and I'm asking for a cake, how would you even know?
I would personally not. But if you're asking me to make a marriage cake and you make it known that you and your wife or you and your husband as a homosexual couple, then I believe someone should have the right to religious liberty and private property rights to decide they do not wish to do that. I don't believe someone should do that.
But you can see how that falls.
I honestly believe that that is the private business's right, with the addendum. If you'll hear me out, I'm only asking to have my opinion heard. If you'll hear me out, you have the right to go somewhere else and make that business go under. What business sense does it make to exclude someone from your business? You want their money. So what sense would it make to do that? What that does is that allows those who don't agree with you to go broke. They've now lost their business through their own bigotry and hatred. Instead of letting them get rich by being able to hide their true intentions, you're allowing them to express their true intentions, and then you get to cut down their business, and now they are without a job because of their own bigotry.
So there's so many questions. Sky's gonna ask one question because she was next in line. We're gonna hear a question, get responses, take a break, and then we're gonna try to get as many questions and short answers so we can get a lot of questions in a second.
They'll get along with
So, hi. I'm really trying to understand your guys' side.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, so you guys talk about the economy and how they, in a free market, have to find equilibrium. But when you're talking about things like life-saving medicine and things that, should be free to everyone, in a free market, when it hits equilibrium, what about all the other people that can't pay that market price? Like, what is the solution to that?
Innovation. Quite simply, innovation drives prices down. Why should somebody invent the next great X-ray machine or the next great penicillin or anything? Why should someone develop the next great vaccine for Ebola or whatever? People do that because they see a market in it. I will say though, the person who discovered I believe it was the penicillin, the penicillin or polio vaccine refused to patent it to allow people to use it as cheaply as possible. And I applaud him for that because that's a voluntary interaction. But the best way to ensure innovation and the lowering of price is to allow people the opportunity to earn money. People do what's best for their own best interest.
Representative, can you give a response?
Well, you're talking about innovation, but at the same time, let's go back to the fact of what she's saying. We can talk about innovation and we can talk about people making money, but we still have to consider there's some people out there that don't make that kind of money. You act like that group is just going to just disappear with innovation. I'm just trying to understand, where do you think that group is going to go with innovation? Do you honestly think we're going to get to a point in time where just everyone is going to be making the same amount of money and they're all going to be able to pay for their health care? I mean, is that what you're thinking?
Honestly, in a sense, yes. Our healthcare system used to be that you would pay out of pocket to go to your family doctor. You just pay out of pocket to go to your family doctor, you know, Dr. Steve, your pediatrician or whatever. Steve. Exactly. We all know Dr. Steve.
This is my ad for Steve the pediatrician.
But when it came to the greater things that you need a hip replaced or you lost a leg, you had health insurance that paid for that. And because health insurance didn't apply to all things, because it didn't apply to the small stuff, it was able to be charged less because it only applied to the big stuff. And at the same time, how they pay for it. We are, per capita, we are the most charitable nation on earth. As a percentage of our GDP, Americans donate more money to charity to help people than any other country. To demand that the government show up to every person's door and take their money is not charity. That doesn't help anyone. It stifles growth.
But you've already said that people can fire. You've already said that if I have a business and that would be making money, that business is making money, that they don't have to. If I've got a job, they can fire me. If I'm gay, if they don't want to give me an apartment, they don't have to give it to me. Those are people that make money, that make those kind of choices, and that's very, very scary.
Wait, has anybody been turned away from McDonald's because they're gay?
You don't.
The big businesses don't make the money by turning people.
Let's get Greg one quick reply.
Sorry.
I would just like to offer what my thoughts would be, and I feel like this is going to be a more intermediate solution. But when you look at healthcare, there's two sides of it, which is universal healthcare versus full-on free market healthcare. Both of them have their flaws, in which case I'm explaining the free market side. I'm probably about to sound extremely insensitive when I'm talking about this, so I'm talking about from an extremely economic perspective. But just like with anything else, there's obviously a supply demand, and where they intercross, that's where the market price should be. And Rand Paul, a senator from Kentucky, was an ophthalmologist, and he talked about this in his book. Where he was from, in Bowling Green, Kentucky, back in the early 1990s, there were about 14 major hospitals that people could go to get health care. After a year after the Affordable Care Act passed, there were 2 major hospitals that people were able to go to. When you take away people's choice and where to go to hospitals, all of a sudden, you're not accountable for the prices you set. You can charge something because you know that, it's super high prices for these procedures, because you know that people are going to have to come to you because there's no other choice. In a very economical sense, when you go to the doctor, you're paying for the service of the doctor. You're paying for that bed. You're paying for the doctor. You're paying for the secretary who checked you in. You're paying for the nurse who's coming in. You're paying for the electricity for the vending machine in the hallway. There's all these different costs that go into where hospitals set that price. When you go into a universal market, is what we would define in economics as a monopoly. And the trademark trait of a monopoly is that the product, in this case healthcare, is undersupplied and overly charged. And so the issue with healthcare is that there will always be a higher cost and a lower supply. And until there is lots of hospitals, until there is innovation to bring down the cost, there's always going to be a percentage of people who are unable to get healthcare. And whether or not that's right or wrong, obviously, in a perfect world, yes, everybody would be able to get access to healthcare. Now, here's where my solution comes in.
Really quick, because I want to get to
Yeah,
that.
so this is super quick. So I came into Ohio State as a biochemistry major in pre-med, and I shadowed a lot of doctors. And in all honesty, the things I was seeing, I shadowed a orthopedic surgeon. The problems were the same. 90% of the patients we saw had a condition called carpal tunnel, and it was fixed with a quick procedure. I do not believe that medical care needs 8 years of doctorate training. I do not believe that healthcare needs the extensive amount of licensing and all that I need. Most conditions, like the common cold, can be fixed with 4 or 6 years of trade school and apprenticeship. So I personally believe that, again, just like I was saying with education, healthcare is in desperate need of innovation that's going to desperately drive down the cost and significantly give more people access to that care at cheaper prices. And without needing the government, these people who before were not able to afford healthcare are going to be able to afford healthcare. But as I said, it's going to take innovation and a overhaul of the status quo.
All right, let's take 5. We'll come back.
I need more. I need more.
The last 25 minutes. And so, as you ask the question, we'll ask you sort of in 1 or 2 sentence responses. And I know this is hard for me to nuance issues that are so, and I think that the stories sometimes make the point. But on the other hand, just so we can try to answer as many questions as we can, we'll try to be really short answers. And students, I would ask you in your questions, let's try not to rehash territory we're using for, because there's so many different issues related to political parties that we could take any one issue and do a deep dive forever, and we won't be able to get a lot of it. So we try to bring out some new territory in your questions instead of these short answers, so we hit as many of those new territories as we can. All right. So we'll start with Austin, and Monica, and Sophie, and then I'm trying to all 3 at a time so we know where we're going.
My question is for you two. Could you expand on the argument earlier that you were making against the idea of universal healthcare? I understand the argument you were saying. I forget what country it was. Norway has less people in it than Ohio. I mean, Ohio has more people than all of Norway. But the other argument you made was about cultural homogeneity, and I'd like you to expand on that and kind of what. Like, I understand why size would be a very large contributing factor to the healthcare system, but why would that impact that in the same way?
Why does heterogeneity of our population affect whether or not we're able to provide healthcare?
Yes.
As well as a
Education.
yeah, or education. Yeah.
So essentially that comes down to how the non-WASP has historically been treated in the USA. It's not. Racism did exist in America in the 1800s. It did exist, as you said, in the redlining districts in the 1940s. And so a lot of poor communities and poor socioeconomic areas of this country do happen to be disproportionately areas with a significant number of African Americans and Latinos. And so the problem with that, heterogeneous society is that there has been, for the critical stage of American development, especially in healthcare in like the 50s and 60s, that, out in the suburbs where the white people were, that there's a disproportionate amount of investment and the quality of healthcare is significantly better than it has been in the cities. And so that is a problem, but the answer
just
to that
follow up, do you think that the government currently has any responsibility to sort of, given that it sounds like what you're saying is that there was historical racism that resulted in differences within communities. Is there any responsibility of the government, do you think, to undo that, or that happened?
Absolutely. The government was one that was caused it by the subsidies that they gave essentially to things like the highway system that was built through African American communities, tore them apart, and completely demolished things like the arts districts. Even just east of here, used to be a thriving arts community that was basically destroyed because of the highway system. And so, the government essentially subsidized it. They've had many opportunities in the past to do something about it, and either the programs that they had installed have either failed or they've just had no effect on the actual issues due to things like lobbying and other issues like that. So yes, the government absolutely has a responsibility in helping to fix this. However, I believe that the solution to it should be getting out of the way and letting innovation and the free market take over.
Veronica.
So earlier when you were addressing that, like, if someone's gay and they walk into your cake shop and you're allowed to refuse to make their cake, and they have the freedom to go to a different cake shop if it doesn't work for them there. I took that almost as a metaphor for immigration maybe. If you come into America and it doesn't work for you, should you just leave or should you try and reform what is happening in America?
The reformation could also be, in your analogy, could also be the boycott of a business. Not just, well, I didn't like it here, we'll go somewhere else and keep quiet about it. I fully advocate for the freedom to assemble, freedom of speech. You use your freedom of speech and assembly to boycott Joe's cake shop or whatever, and make sure that everyone knows that a bigot works here. Somebody who does not like gay people owns this shop, goes somewhere else to show that you support gay people, or at least you support people being able to shop wherever they want, as it were.
So I guess more specifically, like, what do you think about immigration?
Say it like that too. I am very pro-immigrant, honestly. Immigration is what made this country great. It's the free exchange of ideas, and if I could piggyback that onto the cultural issue of the Norwegian, of Norway and the Scandinavian countries, a homogenous culture, typically by race, is not only homogenous in its color, but homogenous in its culture, not just the color. The culture being how you value, what your value systems are, what you believe in. And so the Scandinavian countries are very homogenous in that, which is why they are able to do things more quote-unquote socialist, although if you look up the modern socialism of Sweden, it's actually not anymore. They privatized much of the things that they had previously socialized in the 90s. And through our immigration to the United States, we've been able to become the #1 country in the world for innovation, for business, for invention, for healthcare studies, for anything. We have, through our immigration program, been able to grow our education, been able to grow innovation, our economy, inventions, everything, making everyone's lives easier by welcoming immigrants.
Well, of course, I agree with you. Immigration this country has been built on that, welcoming all types of culture, and of course, we need to continue in that vein.
I have the same question.
Okay. Let's go to Mabel, Emma, and Roshni, and we'll go.
Of the Republican Party, it seems that like it's all you do you, except for regulations tend to go like with protection, like gun rights, military funding, mass incarceration. But I'm curious about like environmental regulations and your views on that.
So why don't you guys give a couple quick thoughts on environmental regulations quickly, and then we'll get to Rob.
This is one of those issues in which if I were to talk to someone, they'd be like, are you sure you're not a Democrat? But then when I explain my reasons, they're like, huh? And so the reason for that is I really do believe in green energy and investing in solar, nuclear energy. But it's not because I believe that climate change is a catastrophic thing. My belief is that what is true and what is undeniable is that fossil fuels are a limited resource and one that we are running out of. In 60, 70 years, there may not be any oil or coal left. So, yes, I am sold on green energy because of I believe I read a report somewhere that for every 3 men that works on an oil derrick, I think it was 70 people can be working in a nuclear power plant. So that's going to create a lot of jobs in our future. It's going to grow the tax base. It's going to increase revenues for the city or wherever it is. And so that to me is important. So I'm sold on it because of the job investment and the fact that fossil fuels are going to run out, not because I believe that global warming is.
I come from a different perspective on that, actually. Yes. Republicans here, we disagree on something, all right? I believe in environmentalism, not through government intervention. I believe if you go back to pre-1900s, crude oil was this black goo crap that came out of the ground that was just in our way. John D. Rockefeller dumped unleaded gasoline into rivers because he had nothing to do with it. What caused us to start using oil? What caused us to start using gasoline? It was because there was an innovative use for it through the automobile. I also believe that as time goes on, we have these innovations that come along like solar energy, or I'm personally a big fan of nuclear energy, because it's actually a very good thing to create mass amounts of energy for cheap, and it's incredibly renewable. Solar, you have to strip mine entire areas for the nickel, or the specific compound is you need for solar energy. Wind energy, you have to create so much concrete for all these different windmills that don't create a whole lot of power individually. Nuclear power creates a lot of energy in a small area. At the same time, I do not agree with him on the oil derrick issue. 3 men on an oil derrick and 70 men on a solar factory. But that doesn't create jobs. That raises the cost of energy. Because it's not, they're each one creating the exact same amount of energy. All 7 of these people are individually creating as much as all 3 of these people. 70 people combined is creating as much energy as 3 people combined. That's not creating jobs, that's just inflating costs.
Well, for me, I actually work with a community bill of rights group, and they right now are trying to protect our water. So it's really interesting that we stay away from disasters or things that corporations have caused, or where they try to save money. Take, for example, with Flint again. There was lead in the water. You knew there was lead in the water, but because you wanted to have this corporation have the contract, you decided that you didn't care enough about the young people. So when you talk about jobs, let's start with some jobs where you get rid of all the lead in the water. Let's start with some jobs like that.
Like a government-run water facility.
I have one question to follow up with Aaron real quick. So because I understand what you're saying, long-term innovation or whatever, but if I have a company and I can like blow the top off a mountain to get coal out of it, but when I do that, like it's gonna pollute the water for all the people who live downstream.
That's the individual thing of we all have life, liberty, and property, but if you as a corporation blow the top off a mountain and it pollutes the stream and now people are dying because you have just let these pollutants get in the stream for your own careless actions, you are causing harm
So
directly.
in that case, you say we should have government regulation to protect.
As long as it is direct, as long as it is to stop someone from directly harming someone else through a result of their own actions.
And then the problem is, wait a minute, and then the problem is, when you harm these people, again, you're not held accountable, you do not make it right, you do not make sure they get the health care so that they get well again, you just continue to allow them to be harmed. You don't make it right, and you have all of this money to make it right. And you're the person that harmed them.
I'm going to get answers right on that, but we had who was it, Roshni and Kate in the middle. Ella.
Okay, so refugee regulation, so refugees would come here as refugees seeking like asylum and needing a lot of help. And so that is obviously a huge burden to the American people, and like we are going to have to be helping them a lot more than we would have to be helping a middle class person who's born here. Right. So how do you think that we should be cutting back how many refugees we're bringing in? Do you think we need to be increasing that, like because they're people? Do we like what's the view on that?
Yeah, does the United States even have a responsibility to like refugees? Is that like?
I believe it's a difficult situation that I am quite honestly have not studied enough to be able to have a viable solution or a strongly educated opinion on that issue. And I am able to admit that enough that I need to research it more. So I cannot give an honest answer.
Well, I just remember when Katrina happened, and they actually called the black people that went to the different cities refugees. So it's almost, to me, I think that we do have to take care of people. Because I think that we have to understand that there is a lot of money out there. And we can take care of people if people are willing to share their wealth.
Sharing is actually a voluntary interaction, though.
So real quick, and then we get to Roshni.
Real quickly, I'm actually going to ask you, I don't really have an opinion on the refugees, but going back to the point before, I have like quick 3 sentences and everything. So I was saying earlier about how, the government has failed like the people. And so one of the big reasons is like the green regulation. Just real quickly, does anyone want to guess where the largest sources of pollution in states, like what geographic area they're in? Does anyone want to take a guess? Texas. Not a big state. They were located right on the borders of states in a downwind area. So that way, states, they look at these factories there, so that way the states receive all the economic benefits of these factories, while all the air pollution, all that, flows downstream into other states, so that way they have to deal with, the effects of the pollution. So this is from lobbying efforts and all that from the states. The governments are on that same stuff. And in terms of the flood water crisis,
Let's not look on that, because that's a lot. And I know you're interested, but I want to make sure we get to other questions. I'll catch up on that. Roshni?
So my question was actually also about immigration. What's the view on illegal immigration? Do you think that mass amnesty is a possible solution? Do you think that building a wall is a possible solution?
I'm sorry, this one.
I do not believe that mass amnesty is an issue just for three main reasons. One, even though it's been shown that 2/3 of illegal immigrants are only here illegally because they're on expired visas, they still have broken laws and regulations within the U.S. that I just do not believe that full-on citizens should have a criminal record attached to them. So I believe that the solution is that people who are here illegally, especially the quote-unquote dreamers, they should be given a path to a green card. They should be given a path to get legal status, and they should be helped along the way to that. Should they become citizens? Those who are born here, within the walls of the country, yes, legally we need to give them citizenship. But the ones who are applying for illegal and are going to apply for citizenship, they don't have criminal records, they should be put on the back of the waiting list, while all the other people who have come here legally and have done all these steps legally should be given the priority in citizenship. So I'm not saying that it should be impossible for them to get citizenship, but it should not be something that should be expected that we get.
Representative Kennedy, Kent, and I want to get over to
I think that one of the problems is that they are actually calling it a crime for them to even be here illegally. And then if you look at some of the actual crimes that they're claiming that they committed, they're really non-violent crimes. So I would think that you would not, they're putting it all together. If you just commit a crime, I mean, if you have a traffic ticket, that's their crime, and they're going to be held liable because they have a crime of a traffic ticket. And that makes no sense when they have families. I mean, we have to think about the idea that we're not really considering families and children that would be separated from their parents, not considering that their lives would be, changed forever going to a country that they didn't know before. I think we have to consider, rather than whether they committed crime, how we're going to keep our families together and our families here.
There were some questions over here. Judy was one, and TC, you already got one, so let me give Rachel one. And then, this is going to be our last four questions. It'll be Judy, Rachel, Axel, and Dakota. And then I'm going to ask one final question before we wrap up at the end.
I don't know if this is a federal thing or
Louder, Judy.
I don't know if this is a federal or a state thing, but why do the roads take so long to get fixed?
The governments have to go through many committees and hire different companies, and so whenever the government does something, it takes form and cover.
Because it states that a lot of our state representatives and U.S. representatives, they're only in office for 2 years, and if a road's going to take longer to get built, they're not going to build it because they're not going to receive the glory for doing so.
And Domino's is fixing our roads now, so private companies.
For me, it's about priority. They don't see it as a priority.
That's also true.
Yeah. Rachel.
Just really quickly, I wanted your guys' opinions on Common Core. Like, do you think it's a good thing, or what's your opinion on it?
We never heard
Well,
of first.
to me, again, that's just another term that they've thrown out, this Common Core. For me, since we are urban, I've taught in an urban school district, I would like across the board for the schools to be more of the same and teaching more of the same. Take, for example, we have the lottery, but if you can't get in, let's say you're interested in music, if you can't get into Fort Hays, then you're just out of luck. Whereas when I went to school, all our schools taught music and had instruments and so forth. And let me go back to the No Child Left Behind, and if you don't mind, with how corporations make the money. No Child Left Behind brought in this tutoring program that was supposed to be for children in poverty, to make sure that they're able to raise their level in math and reading. And what happened is that corporations realized that they could make money off of these children because you get a certain amount of money for each child. And the program was in for probably about 15 years. I actually realized that they were still in the money, and I became a whistleblower, and I was able to close the program down in this state and in 40 other states. But where I knew that it was just pure theft, Who closes the program down after 15 years and absolutely no one is upset about it? There was no outcry from the kids. There was no outcry from the corporations. They had made their money and they were gone. And that's the type of thing that happens, and then government says, oh, that program didn't work. It didn't work because you stole from it.
She's throwing around a boogeyman word like corporations. Corporations are merely a conglomeration of people. When you boil it down, the government is a monopolistic corporation as well. They are a monopoly on force, monopoly on roads, a monopoly on education for the most part. There are some places where you actually can have private education. I personally am against Common Core. Common Core is a federally regulated standard of education. If you allow each state, and in my opinion, each district, and my wife is a kindergarten teacher, by the way, if you allow each district or each state, whichever that state decides on, to set their own standard of education, you create a competition. And that's where I also believe in school choice. If you go to a school that is failing, you should be able to take the money that would go to that school, take your child, and put them somewhere else. It's your child, it's your tax money. You should be able to do with that what you will. Take them, put them in a better school. That forces each school to be better. They can't keep going the status quo. We can't keep having these tenured teachers who don't care about what they do, because despite what everyone believes, not every teacher, honest to God, is a saint. There are some teachers who honestly take the job because you got summers off, you got weekends off, the pay's not too bad, so you can actually be all right.
So
oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm just going to say on top of that, like with the whole Common Core thing, and like that's part of the reason the government fails. Just all of a sudden they create incentive for schools to just get as many people as they can in their walls, and lower their passing standards, so that way they can just get as much money from the government as possible. So I am a believer in reform of Common Core. I believe that nationally there should be a certain baseline that when students graduate high school that they should be at, and that standard needs to be raised, and it needs to be measures in place that hold schools accountable. From there, states and certain school districts can raise those standards to their liking and do what they want with those. And as I've been saying along about educational reform, I believe that the whole education system also needs reform along with that, taking use of the technology we have now in the 21st century. So,
Axel and Dakota.
Okay, so like, besides like how like Democrats may sometimes be not like able to like voice their like speaking through like the vote, like because of like gerrymandering or just how the electoral college is set up, because Hillary Clinton did get 3 more million votes than Donald Trump. Do you think that like the specific like call out culture and the very like aggressive political correctness of the left is also leading people away from the Democratic Party? Like, just what are your views on that stuff?
First of all, gerrymandering is a bipartisan issue.
Well,
I'm not saying it's bipartisan and they want to fix it. I'm saying Joyce Beatty's district, which is downtown Columbus, is like 80% Democrat. Meanwhile, you have like Steve Stivers, who is very much Republican. I know it's an issue. I just wanted to point that out for the sake of argument. At the same time, when you really boil it down, the political correctness and the identity politics can disenfranchise so many people. Because it makes a lot of people feel as though the arguments are purely emotional. And while we all like to give in to our emotions, I know I've had some people on our grade talk to me about bulldozing, and I do try not to. I get excited. We need to, when it comes to politics, not give in to our emotions, not give in to identity politics, not give in to political correctness. Political correctness was originally intended for politeness. Don't call somebody a name. We can all agree with that. When you take it so far as to say, like, hey, how are you guys doing today? Well, I just said guys. That's a pejorative term. That is politically incorrect. I disagree with that. I actually, when I'm talking to my wife, when I'm just talking in conversation, I will even say man and dude to my wife, who is very much a female. And I have a daughter who is not here for any kind of political purpose. I was a school teacher, I had a day off, I had to watch her. So.
I don't know if and I'm just going to answer the way I feel because I didn't quite get your question, but I know that for me, I am about voting, but I am so much more about when the person gets in office for all of us, whether Republican or Democrat, for us to hold them accountable. I don't want to hear people say, well, we'll vote them out 4 years from now. I want you to hold them accountable while they're in office. I want you to hold us accountable while we're in office.
100%. Yeah.
Hang on a second, does anybody have a red Toyota Prius? Anybody have a red Toyota Prius now? No, nobody here has a red Toyota Prius, it must be somebody else. So,
Give them away.
if you want to, well, all right, we'll try to connect the Toyota. But I gotta go now. All right.
Way to confiscate your phone, sir.
Somebody parked a Quincy in the motor thought in a red Toyota Prius, so you can't get out. So I don't know if you want to reach out to their security and just let them know. Maybe they can find who has that red Toyota Prius.
But I definitely believe in people having the freedom to vote as freely as possible.
Dakota.
Okay, so I want to be a teacher. I want to be a teacher after I go to college. And I was wondering if you thought that it was, an accurate representation of teachers to test the students based on, what they've learned throughout the year. Because for me, I'm in a teaching professions class right now, and every student learns so differently than everybody else. And testing based on, one single test, that just doesn't seem like an accurate way to represent what the teacher has taught, because you don't sorry, I'm so sorry, but also you don't know how much of an impact that teacher has had on the student life. Maybe the student had an awful home life, but the teacher helped fix that, and then their education might not be the same, but still they have a huge impact.
So one of my favorite things from that Salcon TED Talk, what he was talking about, even as early as the 1800s, we didn't believe everybody could learn how to read. Americans back in the pre-Civil War days didn't believe black people could learn how to read. We know nowadays that everybody is capable of reading, and it's something that people aren't here to do. I think you use the example of how many of you believe that anybody could become a leading cancer researcher or theoretical physicist? And I tend to believe that that is true. I do not choose to believe that there is a barrier of, when you get to this level of any subject, that there's a certain number of people that are going to be unable to do it. Now, as I was saying, with technology innovation, we have access to the best teachers in the world who could, to everybody, explain concepts. I believe that the future of teaching is that we're going to have people act more so as tutors, where the top best of the best teachers are going to be able to give the lessons, and then we'll be able to have people like you, a teacher, be that person who gets to have that person-to-person interaction and help them in the way that they best are helped. Just like Einstein said, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it's going to believe its whole life thinking it's stupid. And that's not the case. We need more people who are more aware of the challenges people face, how they learn best. And so, if you want to be a teacher, then the best thing that you can do is just, be that person who understands how your students learn best, and make sure that you spend your time and effort to work with them, and make sure that they're getting out of you what you want them to get.
And I am so glad you want to be a teacher. I love the idea that you do. And, unless you're in those schools, you don't know who's a good teacher or bad teacher. But to me, as I said, that I am fighting hard to get rid of the testing. I'm fighting hard to get the respect back for teachers so that they make the type of money that they need to be able to make, because they do work hard and you do make a difference in so many different ways. And they're now even testing teachers after they get their master's degree before they can even teach. And I'm like, seriously? I went to college, I got my master's degree, and now you want to give me a test. Who do you think is making money off that test?
Which goes back to what he was saying
Corporations.
The government makes money off all that stuff.
So let me just wrap up. If there's anything that y'all want to say by way of closing statement to young people as they sort of head out into their their lives and their kind of political futures, yeah.
Well, no, you guys go first.
Speak for a lot of questions that made
Yeah, that's true.
I would like to
He
say.
said attack me. Now they didn't attack me.
Fair point. I used the wrong terminology. I do apologize. It directed at the Republicans in the room. I would like to say, and I just had on the break, everyone here has been very respectful to me. I want to thank you for that. as I believe in order to be able to learn, even if you're just learning how better to defend your own position, you must be able to calmly debate and discuss ideas with people, differing ideas. And I know that some of the things I've said today have come off kind of heartless. And I don't mean to be. I'm a very empathetic person. I'm not truly heartless. And I come from things from a different perspective on the issue. I don't hate anyone. I don't even dislike anyone for the most part. I just have a different perspective that I would love to discuss with anyone. And I encourage everyone here to at least speak to someone you disagree with. Have one or two friends from the opposite side of the political spectrum, or any spectrum really. Always seek out people who disagree with you and try to have coffee with them or have a soda with them or something and sit there and just discuss what you believe. Because it's the only way we can truly, one, heal the divide between the Republicans and Democrats right now that's only getting worse by the day. And it's the only way we can truly grow as a society, as individuals, and help us along the way.
So basically, if you haven't gotten yet, one of the biggest messages that I've been trying to, I know that some of you have come up and talked to me during the break. I probably talked to you guys about this, and that is the power that you guys have. I know it may seem overwhelming and that, like, your voices aren't being heard, but the number one thing that you can do is, as she was saying, be involved. Get out and vote. From a statistical standpoint, half of you are not going to be voting this November or let's say in the 2020 presidential election. Half of you aren't going to do it. And I would really like to see a world in which we can get 85, 90% of the people out to vote, because it really is important. People have died for that right, and even then, it holds people like Representative Kent, it holds her accountable, and at the same time, it is important. Get out, protest, demonstrate, petition, do all of these things, and be active in the political arena. It's there for you, and it works for you. And your vote is a way of holding that accountable. Use it, because it really does mean a lot.
Thank you so much for having me here. For me, you guys are the future. You guys are the ones that are going to make that difference. And that, to me, what happens is you begin to kind of divide as you begin to make money. Titles begin to mean something. And my father always told me, baby girl, titles don't mean anything to me. If you can't make it rain, you're just like, that person's just like you and me. So unless somebody can make it rain, don't make them more important than they should be. Treat everyone as if you would, the same way you would treat the President of the United States, I'd like you to treat somebody that's asking you for a dime on the street. And that's what I want to see us become. And I see young people like that all the time. And I want you to remain as you are. I want you to remain as you are, as you grow, to become adults.
If I just have one analogy real quick, I remember I wanted to say. Has anybody here seen Marvel's Civil War? Captain America versus Iron Man? All right. When you really boil it down, that comes down to an ideological difference between Republicans and Democrats. Neither side is evil. Neither side hates people. Well, I mean, there are individuals within the parties on both sides who hate people. That's an individual issue versus the actual issue of the collective. You have, for those who have seen some more, you have the Captain America side about freedom interaction, about people doing as they see fit as opposed to government control. And the Iron Man side, which is about the government's role of protecting people, even that means restricting freedoms. It doesn't mean either side's evil. Please do not leave here thinking that Republicans are evil, or that Democrats are evil. They're all individual people. You're going to find bad apples in every bunch. So just please keep an open mind for everyone you speak to.
Well, let's thank our speakers for now. Just a reminder, talk to your parents, grandparents, your personal profile research. Tomorrow we'll come back and we'll unpack all this stuff and watch everything. Oh, I'm sorry, one thing I forgot. Representative Kimberly Kent has some handouts of some articles related to what she's been doing. We want to encourage you to grab one of each and grab as a staff.